I do believe we are live. Welcome. I'm Councillor Michael Jones, leader at Crawley Borough Council, and I'm here to uh, answer your questions, hopefully, or at least I hope you think I do. And I'm here, of course, with my senior elves who will be advising me on any slight details that I'm not 100% on top of, but hopefully that won't be often required. But anyway, welcome, and my elves are going to get your questions up in front of me so that I can see them. In the meantime, we have had a couple of advanced questions today, one of which is an extremely long question, so I hope the questioner will forgive me if I don't read it out in full. But it is to do with the planning permission that's been approved for Three Bridges Station. And the plans include reducing the westbound carriageway under the railway bridge to 2 lanes from 3 and removing the right turn out of the station. And the plan also shows a new access point to the station from Station Hill, but there's no details on the provisions for dropping off and picking up passengers. And currently, yes, I'm getting the questions now, so start sending them in and I will look at them. I promise you that. One of the elves might want to look at. There doesn't appear to be any questions, or the chat doesn't seem to be coming up. So I'll get that looked at. Is it? It's there. Good. Right. I take it all back. Apologies. Right. So essentially, sorry. Carrying on with the Three Bridges Station question. There is the questioning is about the modelling that was done by West Sussex County Council and what impact will the changes have on the peak time journey for people living in Maiden Bower attempting to join Hazlitt Avenue, and there is a comparison made with the cycle lanes that were put in during the pandemic, which were also West Sussex County Council, and asked was nothing learned from that. Well, the answer on the impact on traffic flows to whoever asked this question is that this was all modelled by West Sussex County Council, and they did not consider it sufficient to raise a planning objection that would have been a valid ground for the Planning Committee of Crawley Borough Council to turn it down. If there are issues with what West Sussex County Council have done, you'll need to take that up with them, not me. I have no influence over that. Also, I should point out as well that the Planning Committee is an independent committee of the Council. It is certainly not whipped, and the councillors who sit on it, of which I'm not one, reached a decision on the merits of the planning case. I think it's not accurate to say that there'll be no benefit at Station Hill. I think that very much when the arrangements come in place, that's going to be a very useful feature for people who live east of the Brighton Main Line, in order to actually pick up and drop down. I think having an alternative entrance into Three Bridges Station as well is absolutely essential. It's long overdue. And I can also assure the questioner that we investigated over probably a decade, with 3 public consultations, every single potential possibility for many different parts of the proposals to see if there were alternatives. And the one thing that came out time and again was that in order to do any meaningful improvements at Three Bridges Station, the right turn out of the station couldn't be what's the word? Couldn't be accommodated. However, what I would say is that overall, in my personal opinion, looking at the merits of actually what's going in, it will vastly improve the travelling experience for passengers. It will improve the interchange for public transport, for buses. There will be more taxi rank capacity. Overall, it is an extremely beneficial change. There will be some impacts on the road network. There will also mean that some people will not have quite the same convenience they did in terms of heading in one direction rather than another. But saying that, from what's been put forward, there's no evidence that it will cause delays to traffic flow. In fact, there's arguments to say that it will actually improve it. I take the points you're making, questioner, but I don't necessarily agree with them. Thank you. I'll move on now. Now, we've had another question this afternoon. We're talking about, with the accessibility of residents in mind, why does the new town hall building not have a door open button on the outside for people that can't use the revolving doors? The button is on the inside for staff to access. Thanks for your question on that. And they're the two advanced questions I've had, and I do try to deal with them first to give them justice, as people have taken trouble to contact me. I would say that we've looked into this, and can I rest people rest assured that I totally take on board the point that the revolving doors will not be accessible for everyone, and there is yes, this is the second one in a row now actually that I haven't turned off my phone and someone has rung me. There we are. That's a lesson. Can I? It doesn't happen most of the rest of the time. Can I? But you can guarantee it. Live Q&A will happen. So right. Can I just say, answering the town hall building question. Essentially, I'm going to have to turn the sound off on this. Excuse me, which requires me to remember my part. Why is it not? Right, beg your pardon. Right. There'll be no more interruptions. Right, good. Thank you. Right. What I would say is that if you press that button on the door, you will be able to get in one way or another. And I appreciate at the moment that might mean a member of staff has to let you in, but we do seem to think that doesn't necessarily need to be the case, and it should be open. So we will look at that, and questioner, hopefully we will be able to resolve that by the next time you come in. So thanks for that. Right. So that is where we are. So I'll have a quick look and see if we've got any questions, and we do. The first question is from Gloria. Hello, Gloria. It says here, what do we do about photo ID if we have a postal vote? Well, I knew the answer to this, but the elves have also confirmed this. If you're a current postal voter, Gloria, you do not need to have photo ID. That's not required. So anyone who doesn't have the relevant photo ID, and that tends to be things like a passport, a driving licence with photo of you on it, or alternatively there is photo ID that you can actually apply for directly from the council, which will allow you to go in and vote. However, make sure you've got it if you do intend to vote in person. However, for all postal voters, you don't need it. So if forking out for a passport or a driving licence doesn't actually appeal to you and you don't have anything else, then one alternative, very affordable alternative, is to actually apply to the council for a postal vote. You can do that. I think there's a national website which I'm hoping one of the elves will have either put up or about to. So if you will do that, then that will be good. Right, so Jade, I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you want to explain a bit more, I'll answer it. Sar has written in, need a nursery school in the Forgewood area as there's no school within the area. Forgewood Primary School, I think, is open. I'm almost certain of it. In terms of nursery provision, I understand that a community centre is reasonably close to opening there, but in terms of education facilities, that is also a West Sussex County Council responsibility. Eduardo has written in. Crawley needs a deep clean. So much litter on the floor. Safety is necessary. Hi, Eduardo. We do our best. If there's any particular area, you're very welcome to let me know. You can either do it through the chat or you can email me on michael.jones@crawley.gov.uk, and I'll see what I can do. And of course, if anyone's got any issues that they'd like to contact me on, and they don't particularly want to share it for whatever reason, perhaps a bit sensitive, then you don't have to share it with the entire chat on public record. You can email me. Best that's a good way to get hold of you on michael.jones@crawley.gov.uk. So let's move on. Looking through the chat. Lyndon wants to meet the elves. I don't see any reason why you need to wait till Christmas, Lyndon. I'll happily bring you on along and introduce you to all of them, though. It'll have to be when they're not doing some of their other magic juices, of course. But we can work on that. Right, well, I think that's all the questions we've got at the moment. I understand from a colleague that I might be competing with Boris Johnson's account of what really happened a little while ago. So if that is still the case, then maybe that would explain some of the lulls. But what I'll do is, as we've got some spare time, I'll fill you in on a few things that have happened recently at Crawley Borough Council, and of course I'm very happy to fill the hour with things I think, or if you don't have any questions. So don't hold me to that, because I will demonstrate it. So in terms of the new town hall, people will probably have noticed that the new town hall is open. It opened to the public on the 8th of March, and I'm delighted to say that we actually had the official opening last night. The Mayor of Crawley, our Mayor of Crawley, Councillor Gilly Hart, cut the ribbon to officially open the building, and I was next to her as she did it, which provides civic and office space for the council on the lower 3.5 floors. Or lower 2.5 floors, I think, technically speaking, but above 5.5 floors of Grade A commercial office space that will be generating income to help maintain council services into the future. And that's we've got some interest, and I very much hope to be able to make some very positive announcements in the not too distant future, but we're not quite there yet for reasons of commercial confidentiality. In terms of the new town hall, as I said, it's going to help put the council on secure finances through its ability to generate new revenue from the commercial office tenants. And also, we will be achieving very significant savings on the council's current running costs. A building like the old town hall that was built originally in the 50s, 60s, 60s, I think. Yes, it had its 60th anniversary a few years ago, but they weren't built with energy efficiency in mind, and so actually the difference is quite significant. So I think basically there's other things. It is purpose built. It's fit for purpose. It's brand new. It's modern. We'll be able to provide not just decent facilities for our staff, but really modern, up to date service provision for all our residents in Crawley, and that's very exciting. And it will be a place where councillors will be able to deliver the very best, I think, in the future for the town. And it also contributes, of course, to the council's wider ambitions around affordable housing, post-COVID economic recovery and tackling climate change. Obviously, Geraint Thomas, which is next to the old town hall, is up and running. We do hope to do other things. I'll be coming on to the district heat network, but this is part of a wider regeneration scheme that covers not just the new town hall, transforming parts of the boulevard, but also in terms of we'll have a district heat network, of more which later. There's going to be new flats, The plans are still for a new public square, public realm improvements, and ground floor commercial space. So that's all very positive. Let's have a look and see if I've got any more. No, I've just got hello Luke, parking in Lansbury Road. Luke, I've said this to you more than once now. Unfortunately, Lansbury Road, anything to do with parking, it is going to be West Sussex County Council. My understanding is that Brian has talked to you about this, but the upshot is I can't help you, and I think West Sussex are going to be the people that do. So sorry about that, but there we are. No more questions at the moment. Keep them coming. Otherwise, I'll be telling you other things that I'm really pleased about. And although that's fun for me, I'm not so convinced it's fun for everyone else. As far as I mentioned the district heat network, so let's actually talk about this a bit more. The district heat network of phase 1, as we're calling it, that's been completed. Basically, it's owned by Crawley Borough Council and it's operated by a company called Pinnacle Power, and it comprises a flue energy centre with combined heat and power plant and a control room on the Town Hall redevelopment site. And it currently supplies power to the new Town Hall. It probably did for the old Town Hall at one point, but it also provides the heat and hot water to Geraint Thomas House, which is the flats right next to where the old Town Hall is. John Brackpool Close, 128 homes that are behind the old Town Hall, next to the army cadets place, and obviously us, as I say, the Crate building is part of the Town Hall's called, but and it will do the same for the proposed residential development and whatever comes along that's sited on location of the former Town Hall. So, this is again something to be really pleased about. Along with the new Town Hall, it is really a great step in terms of reducing our carbon footprint as a council and actually meeting some of those targets, or at least getting closer to them in terms of carbon reduction targets. The emissions reduced by at least 50%, and hopefully as close to net zero as possible by 2030, and to reach net zero, or as close as we can to net zero by 2040 at the very latest. They're very ambitious targets, but I've always said you need to set targets, although they should be meaningful, and we will try to do what we can. So just having another look, well, it does seem that everything. Well, if this is any evidence to go by, everybody's really happy and there aren't any problems in Crawley. I'm not sure that's 100% true, but we will see. But keep the questions coming in if you've got them. I'll mention a few other things. Last week, Thursday I think it was, I was incredibly pleased, privileged, honoured to attend the presentation of grant awards by Crawley Borough Council that my colleague, Cabinet Member for Community Engagement and Public Protection, Councillor Sue Mullins, has decided. And there's some incredibly important local community groups and charities and voluntary organisations that have received grants from the council in order to help them do the amazing work that they do. And I'll mention a few, but basically there are 18. So I hope everyone will forgive me if I don't list them all individually. Otherwise, unless we don't get any questions, I might come back and list them all in that case and tell you what I think. Think of the great work they do. But it's more. Crawley Borough Council gives out more than £250,000 every year in grants to all these very worthy projects and organisations. And this year has been no different. I do still maintain and repeat that Crawley Borough Council remains one of the strongest supporters amongst local districts and borough councils in terms of the support we give to the third sector in the borough, well, in the borough, any equivalent. And there's, for example, we've given grants this year of nearly £70,000 to Crawley Open House. I think there might even be the Elves might even put a list on of who we've given money to if there's a link to the news report. But we've also given significant money to help support the great work that goes on at Broadfield Youth and Community Centre, Age UK, Community Transport Sussex to cover the costs of some of the dial-a-ride services for residents who would otherwise not be able to get about. There's money to help support Relate North and South West Sussex, which does some great work, has a fine history here in Crawley, celebrated its its 60th birthday actually, and that's really very progressive indeed in my view. And they do some wonderful work. They're not just there for marriage guidance, although of course they will offer that as well. They're there for counselling on a number of areas, and young people and mental health is one of them. Looking at other things, Home Start, Crawley, Horsham, Mid Sussex. We've given Home Start, who help support some of our families, our local families and parents who don't necessarily have a lot of support otherwise, or could be isolated, to actually help them with what can be a very challenging time. Sort of, as I know from relatives who've got newborn children. And there's other things as well. Let's have a look. £15,000 towards the Crawley Community Youth Centre, that's based at Dormans and Gossets Green and the Bewbridge Centre, and that's very important. And it's lovely to see Dave and Laura on the day, and my best wishes to everyone. But other good things we've done as well. £10,000 to the Crawley Festival, who will be repeating the great work they do. Anne reliably informs me that, and Angela reliably informed me that there's another big event coming up in May, I think, in the Memorial Gardens. I could be wrong on that, but that will be hopefully going ahead. They were unfortunate last year because they had something arranged and ready to go, and then unfortunately events overtook us, and they weren't able to hold it. But also we're funding the Posh Club, which I know many residents, our senior residents, enjoy. That's going to get some money, and also £10,000 to host the Crawley Pride again this year, which has been quite a success in the last 2 years, and hopefully will go on to bigger and better things. So as I said, the total funding for all 18 grants was over £250,000, and we do have a very proud record here at the council, and one that I very much value. So let's have a look. Still no questions. My goodness, the things that are going on in Parliament must be quite a draw. Who knows? But right, we've got the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. There's 6 organisations have benefited from a share of just under £57,000. We've been looking at that. It's been aimed particularly at inequalities in some of our more deprived areas of the borough. So, for example, there's money going towards the free shop in Crawley, which is very good. Inspire Castle, LPK Learning, Creative Crawley will be getting some money to do some seminars, and one that I was pleased to see is the 10 Little Toes Baby Bank, which is a local community group that actually helps provide support and clothing, for example, for families with newborn children. So I wish them all the very best as well. There are open grants, of course, throughout the year. They're subject to a maximum of £2,500. The amounts I've mentioned and the grants that I've just talked about, they're all part of what we have as an annual strategic grants review, or sort of rounds of, and that's done for the year. But if you are interested in doing something in the future, you can either apply for an open grant now, or you can look at the council's website, and there's details on how to apply in the future if you'd like to go for something a bit more. But please, if you do have something and you think it's worthwhile, the very least you could do is talk to us or reply. And as I often say, the worst thing we can say is no. So have a look at that. So. Right, okay, having another look. Well, no questions. I'll try not to take it personally, but Crawley Wellbeing, I just want to mention that there's been a lot of work done, and it's finally come to fruition. But I had the great pleasure of joining Councillor Chris Mullins on behalf of Crawley Borough Council and our wellbeing team to support the launch of the mobile unit that Crawley Wellbeing, which, as many people know, is based at K2 Crawley. They offer a free, friendly and impartial service to support people making positive improvements to their physical and emotional health and well-being. But one thing that became increasingly clear was that it would be really useful if they could get the service out and about across the town, making it more accessible than ever before. Now, they had obviously tried in the past to get to all parts of the borough, but having this unit will really make a big difference to being able to do that, being able to set up, have people come in, talk to them confidentially and in private if necessary about the various issues. And the idea is really to just reach out there and get out there to places that wouldn't necessarily always be that convenient to get to. I mean, for example, K2 is a lovely facility, but it's not the nearest place for some of us in the borough anyway. It's not too bad for me, but we're not running services for my benefit. What I'd say is the mobile unit's out is in Queen Square on Thursday the 30th from 10 till 3, and it's going to return at the same times on the 6th and the 20th of April, the 4th and the 18th of May. And on other dates it's not there, it will be dotted around other places. So there's been monthly provision in Bewbush, Broadfield and Langley Green is being set up, and when that's been confirmed, the dates and locations will be available, and I'm sure the elves will put a link up for that. So yes, so let's have a look. Oh, right. Hello, Jenny. Please, can you give us more information about the food recycling programme? I would have to ask my elves to look into that. Not quite sure if that's the borough that looks after that. Anyway, we'll look into that. Might come back to Jenny if I can. Other things going on, because that's the only question I've had so far, is but keep them coming. Is the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund. Got some really good news. Actually, it's almost hot off the press. I can announce it this evening, probably for the first time. But Crawley Borough Council have been successful in being awarded £6.8 million to enable 408 of our least energy efficient council homes to be retrofitted with loft insulation, cavity wall insulation, external wall insulation and replacement windows as part of a complete energy saving retrofit. Now, that's really great news for whichever council home gets that, because the 408 properties as a minimum save on average about £285 a year on energy bills, and it also is good for the environment because it saves about 1.3 tonnes of carbon each every year. I know that I actually, a few months back, actually visited Lauriners Lauriners in Southgate in order to actually see this working for myself, and it really it really was quite good to see it. But I think this is really, really positive news, and I know we did the first phase, and one of the reasons I believe that we've got the second phase is that the work went so well. So congratulations to everyone at Crawley Homes who achieved that, and also my good wishes to all the residents that have done it. So. That's great, lovely. Let's have another look. Lorna, yes, I hate to tell you this. Potholes, the roads are dreadful. Regular viewers of mine will know that issues about potholes and the state of the roads are a frequent question. Unfortunately, Lorna, and I'm not trying to pass the buck, I never am. Highways are a West Sussex County Council responsibility, and I have little to no influence over what they do or how they provide it. And you'll need to contact your county councillor or someone at West Sussex County Council if there's any specific areas you're unhappy with. So yeah, and I think the elves have given you a very helpful link in order to do that. So so that is that. Right, I'm just looking now. We're half an hour in, and we really don't seem to have too many questions at all. So, not to worry. We will press on. Of course, I don't know if Jonathan's on the call today, but Jonathan, you like to hear about events going on in Crawley, and I'm very happy to oblige. We've got more than a few. Wordfest, which is a really wonderful set of events all around literature and words, I suppose, which is arranged by Carolyn and her team of volunteers. That's on until the 31st of March, and hopefully the elves will be able to put a link to that up on the chat. I think they do some really fantastic, interesting, informative events. So if you're interested in well, literature, any sort of literature really, or some really interesting readings or presentations, and they are definitely well worth tracking down. So yeah, what I'd say is there's also, I'll plug as part of that, one of the events is called A Night's Watch, which is Tales of Crawley, which is a trip through time and a chance to experience Crawley through the ages. Led by the ghost of an old night watchman, apparently. You'll meet characters from Crawley's past and present and hear their stories as you journey through the High Street's oldest buildings. It takes place in the ancient Priors building in the High Street on Friday the 24th and Saturday the 25th of March at 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 and 8 p.m. And that's, as I said, in conjunction with Wordfest. So I might see if I can track that down, actually. I'm very looking at the dates. That's the next. Oh, not just coming up. That's tomorrow and the next day, isn't it? So yes. So track that down now. Entry is free apparently, and you can book tickets by visiting eventbrite.co.uk and searching for Tales of Crawley. So that's going on. Next month, of course, is as it always is, St George's Day, which is Saturday, 22nd of April, and in the High Street. I believe it's a high street. It usually is. Yes, it is. There'll be our usual fare. There'll be community stalls, food traders, family entertainment, and a children's workshop. I'm always very pleased when I pop down there and see what's going on. It's always a good display of friendship, tolerance, and celebrating the National Saints Day. So and the council over the years has helped put on a really good event. Coming on, I suppose I really need to give a mention to the coronation of King Charles III is going to take place at Westminster Abbey on Saturday, 6th of May. And there's going to be events marking it across the country and a concert at Windsor Castle. But if you don't want to travel that far and you want to mark the occasion locally and organise a street party, You can visit crawley.gov.uk/events, and but you need to complete a request form by Sunday. I think that's for is that for street closures? Yes, that's for street closures. There's no time limit if you want to put out a trestle table and have a picnic. No one's going to stop you doing that at any point. But as part of that, I believe there's a national coronation big lunch at which neighbours and communities are invited to share food and fun together, and that's going to take place across the country on Sunday the 7th of May. So you can attend or organise a big lunch. You can visit the edenprojectcommunities.com/the-big-lunch. Hopefully the residents will be able to hopefully the elves will be able to give a link to that if you're interested in organising a big lunch. Of course, you can do it without any help or support, but it's there if you'd like to look at it. So Kevin's written in. Hello, Kevin. Who can we report bad parking to? I think the short answer is it depends what you're referring to as bad parking. Dangerous or obstructive parking that obstructs the highway is always a police matter, and you should contact them. Also, alternatively, the PSPOs. I would also say that you can report parking if it's bad through Crawley Borough Council. Is there a link to I think the elves are just putting in a link, and also there is Operation Crackdown, which is Sussex Police, I'm fairly sure, and I would say the police are your best call because they are the people who can enforce what's going on. So let's have another look. Jenny mentions the hot bin trial. I don't know if that means anything. You've put something on, have you? Okay. I think the elves have responded to you, Lorna, so that's great. And the big lunch information's been put up as well, which is very nice. Right, come on, don't be shy. If you've got any questions, you can ask them. And I'll try and answer them. But another few sort of obligatory plugs if there isn't any more questions, and it doesn't look like there is at the moment. In which case, can I just give a plug? Crawley Borough Council is very, very conscious that there's a cost of living crisis. It's having a huge impact on household finances, but help is available. We've updated and improved our Money Worries section of the website, so all of the available support is in one place to make it easy to find. So you can visit crawley.gov.uk/Money Worries to find out more. And e-billing, you can sign up now to receive bills via email. It's faster and it saves on printing and postage costs. It also reduces the use of paper and envelopes. You can do that if you sign up at my.crawley.gov.uk, and you can use that, My Crawley, and e-billing to register for services including council tax, business rates, allotments, green bin, leasehold services, premises licences, taxi licences and Lifeline. So you can please help us by signing up to e-billing at my.crawley.gov.uk. So there we are. So Kevin, how soon would the police react to parking? If you ring them and tell them it's an emergency, I'd hope quite quickly, Kevin. In terms of non-emergency issues, I really couldn't tell you. I think it depends on what the police's current workload is, if I'm honest with you. Sorry if that's not a very specific answer, but the elves have put up somewhere you can report parking issues, and that's where we are. I'm just going to run through, on the basis I haven't had any more questions, I'm going to run through some useful telephone numbers. As always, you can As I said, you're very welcome to email me at michael.jones@crawley.gov.uk if you'd like me to look at something specifically, or at least refer it to the right department, hopefully. But you can call Crawley Borough Council directly yourself, and the main switchboard is 01293 438 000. That's 01293 438 000. If you are a council house tenant and you have an issue with your repairs, or something that needs repairs, and you can call the Crawley Repairs team on 01293 438 111. If there's any sort of low-level problems with crime or antisocial behaviour, you can contact our community wardens on 07884 492 324. You can also, of course, call the police. If it's an emergency, always call 999, but if it's not, you can call Sussex Police on 101. Well, I must say we've gone through my planned list, but I would keep those questions coming in. We've only got 20 minutes left to go, but we will finish earlier if there isn't any need. But I'll just talk about a few other things in the meantime that I've been up to. Last week we had Crawley Question Time, so thank you to everyone who attended that. It was nice to see some familiar faces. All I will say is thank you for everyone who came along. It was a very lively Crawley Question Time, probably the liveliest one I think I've been to since I've been on the council. But that's what it's all about, isn't it? And I hope members of the public had a nice chance to see inside the new town hall and some of its facilities. Other things I've done recently, like on Friday, I attended the Horth because it was the manager Dave Watmore's retirement celebration. Dave is the current manager of the Horth. He's about to leave, I think it's next week, after many, many years of work, both at the Horth and with Crawley Borough Council. I believe it's over 35. Sorry, Dave, if I've missed that out, but it's certainly a significant period of anyone's life, and it was very interesting to see some of the photos and on display of him throughout the year. But very proud of the Horth. Obviously, it is council owned, although we do have a partner, Parkwood Leisure, who helps us run it. I'm very proud of the facility. It does some great stuff, and I know that the people who use it get an awful lot out of it. A lot of that's down to Dave's contribution over the years, and we're incredibly grateful. And it was nice to be able to celebrate that. And my best wishes to the new manager when he takes up his post, and good luck to Dave in the future. Moving on to I think it's sort of partial retirement, but not entirely. So let's have a quick look. Another thing I did last week, and I felt it was very important to do, was it was the United Nations International Day Against Islamophobia. So I took the opportunity to go with my colleague Sue Mullins, who's a cabinet member for community engagement, to the mosques at Broadfield, Langley Green, and also the Sri Lankan Muslim Welfare Association, which is fairly certain it's Martyrs Avenue, and we will visit the Ahmadiyans soon. We weren't able to meet them, but we did cover quite a few of the faith and spoke to local community leaders, and I think it was important. And thank you to them for their hospitality in receiving us. It was a very useful visit. Other things that have happened, I had the great pleasure as well to recently visit the Crawley Film Institute. Callum and his colleagues, who have done some great work there. They're in the middle of setting up a film festival. So it's not Sundance yet, but from little acorns grow great trees. So I'm very much hopeful that that will be at the Horth in August, I think, but I'm not. Don't shoot me if I've got the month wrong, but certainly in the summer. So good luck to that. I hope that goes really well. They had some very interesting plans. So while I was at their base, I took the opportunity to swing by at Crawley Museum to see their dinosaur, which is also quite impressive. there is a photo with me and the dinosaur going around. I look. I think it's here for the whole month. I think it goes at the end of the month. So if you haven't seen it, and it's definitely worth a visit if you're anywhere nearby. It's up the stairs, although there is a lift. So it's definitely worth a look. So that'll be my tip if you've got something you'd like to do. And of course, the Crawley Museum is a fantastic museum. They've got lots of interesting exhibits and things about life in Crawley past and some of it more recent than others, but even so, it's always very interesting. So we did that. I also had the opportunity to go down to the woods with Chris Mullins at Tilgate Park or Tilgate Forest to meet members of the Wildlife Woodland Trust who were doing some work there. It was very gratifying to see some of the great work that's been done with our trees in the borough, particularly down at Tilgate Forest. I understand the bluebells have started to spring, so anyone who likes that, now is a good time to go, I think, well, weather permitting, clearly. So I think I cannot see any other messages. So I'm going to finish off. If you've got a question, you've got a couple more minutes left to ask it, or I'm going to assume everyone's asked the questions they want. And essentially, the final thing I'd like to sign off in is hopefully with particular interest to our tenants at Crawley Borough Council homes is the secure tenancy policy, which has been introduced or reintroduced. We reached the conclusion that there's a lot of insecurity out there, mainly in the private rented sector in terms of accommodation, but to a certain extent, there is to a certain extent in our council homes there was the ability to review after 5 years, and given the benefits that the council got out of it, it was something the government originally made us do. We've reached a conclusion that it wasn't delivering, and it also at this time it just wasn't the right thing to be doing. So we have gone back to secure tenancies from flexible tenancies, and that's something that has gone through recently, and I definitely think is the right decision. We've had a question from Ben. Hello, Ben. Why is Crawley Council seeking to try and be a developer when historically public sector organisations are generally quite poor in developing sustainable and affordable housing? Ben, we often work in partnership with developers or social landlords. I would say that actually that's not entirely true. I mean, in terms of the Newtown Corporation, and then when Crawley Borough Council assumed its responsibilities, actually in the past, developing housing and developments was actually something councils did very, very well. Essentially, we don't tend to do large-scale developments ourselves, although if it is a small piece of land, we will do it from time to time. However, I would actually say that everything that we've been delivering in the past, certainly the past decade that I've been involved in overseeing it, has been very efficient and has been excellent value for money. But we've also done some very progressive things, as the passive house housing in Three Bridges, for example, and at Ifield West that we did, which is very sustainable. I mean, in some respects, if you're talking historically, well, you know, a lot of public sector housing in Crawley went up back in the 50s and the 60s, and you know, it was another era. People did things differently there. The concerns we have over things like sustainability and efficiency just weren't just weren't on the agenda back at the time. You've got a second question. The proposed scheme on Ifield Road is particularly poor. It is good to see Crawley Council leading the way as an exemplary. Okay, well, you know, you're entitled to your opinion. Actually, the scheme on Ifield Road is to my mind um, quite quite a respectable proposition. It is also there as temporary accommodation. One of the things that we have at the moment, I'm not saying it's right, but one of the things we have is a surge in people who are needing to be temporarily housed because they've not been able to sustain their accommodation for whatever reason. And you know, the council's done its very best to try and make sure that we've got people in off the street. Now, in terms of size standards, I'd be very surprised if we were tolerating anything that was below our minimum size requirements. Possibly, I think with that arrangement as well, some of it won't be en suite. But I'm afraid sometimes we have to do things in order to we have to do things in order to meet a need quite urgently. And I think with what's going on at Ifield Road, I think it will be good quality. So I reject. Quite honestly, any suggestion that it isn't, and my officers wouldn't be preparing to put people in if there wasn't. And I know they're working with the owners or the current owners who will soon be previous owners, and we require it. But this is much needed housing. That's just the long and the short of it. There are rent arrears, there are evictions, there are family breakdowns happening all too often. Some parts of the country suffer from it worse than others. Unfortunately, we are one of them. Right. Yeah. I think that the current investments are presenting good value for money as a ratepayer, and I also think that there are significant revenue pressures on us if we don't actually supply this temporary accommodation, because we then have to pay in other ways. I think on that basis, that's it. No other questions. Thank you very much to everyone who's asked a question. Much appreciated. I think it's fair to say this will be the final stint before, a bit like Bagpuss, I and all the elves go to sleep, until the elections are over, in terms of public question and answers are concerned. But provided the elections go well in any number of forms, I might be back with you after the council elections as the leader of the council, and if I am, of course, I will be delighted to continue answering questions. Can I just wish everyone all the very best. You can, of course, contact me in the meantime. You don't have to wait for this Q&A on michael.jones@crawley.gov.uk. If there is anything particular you'd like me to cover at any of these Q&As, please let me know. But on that note, we're not too far off an hour. It's reasonably respectable. Thanks very much to everyone, and I will see you again. Bye-bye now.